Oh, okay. What's going on, y'all? Okay, I'm just looking over this article, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that you know that that this has happened, but it was only a matter of time. Before we actually seen true colors of the political environment of Ferguson. But I just want to get off into this article, man. I'm putting the link in the description box. It's not a long article at all. So if you want to read along with me, just go down to the description box and read along. If you want to read along later on, the link to the site is going to be down there as well. Voters in Missouri, Ferguson, Missouri, re-elected Mayor James Knowles III on Tuesday in the first election since the fatal shooting of Michael Brown in 2014. Knowles, who rolled out weeks of unrest after Brown, an unarmed teenager, was shot and killed by Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson, defeated City Council member Ella Jones 56% to 44%, with all of the city's 13 precincts reporting. Jones, 62, would have become the first black mayor in the city's 122 years had she been elected. So we talking about the people had a chance to make history, and especially with the shooting of Mike Brown. It was a chance for the city to redeem itself in the public eye. It would have been a good argument for racist white conservative supremacists to debate us with whenever we talk about Mike Brown. But now we have more ammunition to defeat conservative racists with, and conservative coons and sellouts whenever we discuss Ferguson, whenever we debate about Ferguson and their position in politics, and their position in social what do you call it, how Ferguson feels on a social level, especially their whites, on a social level, concerning racism, discrimination, degradation, and all of those things. We know from this election, yes, that how Ferguson's whites really feel about the blacks that live there in Ferguson. You missed the chance of making history, giving the city a chance to redeem itself by throwing up it. Okay. Let's see here. Tuesday's election, first chance that voters had to weigh in since the nationally followed shooting, also came on the same day the United States Attorney General Jeff Sessions called for a review of court-ordered criminal justice reforms demanded by the Obama administration in Ferguson and numerous other cities. Knowles, 37, is white. Like Jones, he campaigned on a promise to continue the changes and reforms instituted following a scathing report by the Justice Department, which accused police and the courts of systemic bias against poor black residents. And matter of fact, I just made a video, how white folks got so rich. See what part that is. Let's see here. I just uploaded. I haven't made it public. Haven't made it public just yet. I think it's part 24. Go and check out part 24 in the playlist, or you can just find it or whatever. But I mentioned in that video that the courts did discriminate against blacks, and I couldn't think of a modern example. I kept coming up with past examples, but the Mike Brown case is the perfect example. Matter of fact, not just Mike Brown's case, Trayvon Martin case, Tamir Rice, Aiyana Jones, all of these black children who have been murdered by white cops. They never got a sentencing. They were convicted. They were accused of the crime, but none of them paid for the crime that they committed. Now, let me show you the flip side of it. A police officer down here in Louisiana was sentenced to 40 years in prison for killing a 6-year-old boy. Accidentally. Right? These white cops shot these black kids on purpose. So, whenever we talk about bias, systemic bias against blacks in the courts, it's something that's real. Find me a police officer in the past 10 years. Show me a police officer in the past 10 years who has been sentenced to 40 years for killing a black child, a white police for killing a black child. Okay? Or any black person. Ferguson is one of the smallest cities in the country to have negotiated a consent decree with the federal government, and both candidates were mindful that any delay could undermine fragile efforts to create trust between the police department and skeptical segments of the community. Ferguson's mayor has less power than the city manager, but given the city's recent history and its place in the national spotlight, the mayor has enormous power to shape public perception as the face of the city. Okay? That goes back to what I was just saying at the beginning of this video, was that Ferguson had a chance to redeem itself, and they did not take it. That shows you how headstrong they are about their personal position concerning race and discrimination. They don't care. Okay? The fear now, with Knowles winning a third term, is that residents, activists, and protesters, already doubtful that anything will ever change, could harden their attitudes. And that's exactly what they need to do. Okay. Knowles argued that his experience would be valuable, guiding the city through a period of reform over the next 3 years, with new city council members, a new police chief, and a new city manager. Okay, I was actually wrong when I said in the other video that a mayor actually serves longer term than a president. So they actually serve 3 years. Okay, not the number that I was thinking. Voters also overwhelmingly approve a measure to require police officers to wear body cameras. Okay, we already heard about this body camera shit. They're not doing it. They're gonna say that the shit didn't work. It failed. It fell off me. And all that bullshit. But let's see. body cameras at all times, and to require the city to keep body camera video for at least 2 years. 2 years is actually not long enough. Of course, anybody who watches the channel Detective Investigative Discovery, or any kind of crime shows, that some cases get cold. Okay, and was here 2 years may not be here in the next 10 years when the person actually needs it. You see what I'm saying? But Ferguson officers have used the body camera since Brown was killed, but critics accuse police of not wearing them consistently. Okay, now this article is by NBC. I just went to the first one that I came across, but I'm gonna tell you, racist whites, whether they know they're racist or not, it doesn't stay hidden long. I'm glad that Ferguson showed itself for what we already knew it was. Now when we have debates and arguments with racist whites concerning Mike Brown and about Ferguson, we have substantial evidence. We have proof. Solid, rock solid evidence that the city itself is racist. Okay? Since Mike Brown has been killed, this man was the mayor of that city. Since he was killed, why hasn't there been any change in Ferguson? Making police wear body cameras for what? Okay? What does that change? Okay? Now, I don't know when body cameras were implemented and forced upon police officers to wear, but Mike Brown was killed in 2015, 2014. They were told to wear body cameras long before that. Okay? But it is what it is, man. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down at the bottom. Leave a like or dislike. Check out the content if you're new. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.